Good day, everyone. Today I'm going to take you through Team Spectre's Counter-terrorism task force demonstration of Nuix. First, an introduction of the team. The investigators of Team Spectre are Lee Merrick, Manveer Nirwan, Mike Kamita, Jason Pope, David Smith, and me, Michael Lappin. I'm going to briefly take you through the scenario that we use today for our demonstration. What seems to be routine police work and investigation rapidly becomes something very, very extraordinary involving multiple nefarious actors. We start at a rural agricultural pharmaceutical company called AgriFarm. They seem to be missing dangerous levels of nitrogen-based fertilizer. It doesn't take too long before the case goes cold. We're trying to discover if someone from the inside helped the thieves, where is the fertilizer now, and why indeed was it taken in the first place. Concurrently, a separate investigation into some radicalization and finance is taking place as well. The second case has evidence that matches known intel, and we start to make some interesting and very important connections. Perhaps these cases are linked. The cases will take us to internet cafes, the investigation of transactions with cryptocurrency, looking at geolocated data, analyzing cell phone tower logs, flight manifests, and sanction lists. Here's a photo of the AgriFarm plant where the various medicines and agricultural products are created. At the bottom of the slide, you can see the storage facility where the nitrogen-based fertilizers are stored. This indeed is where the fertilizer went missing, and we're going to try to track down where it went. In our travels, we come to an internet cafe where Nuix adaptive security is being used to monitor a public computer endpoint for nefarious activity by a financier of the suspected organization and activity. We're also going to analyze flight manifests of one of our actors as well to see where he has been traveling. And we find that much of his travel is in fact vacation oriented, but some of it is not. We will use a variety of geolocation and positioning data using the analytics and intelligence dashboard to view where the different locations and events are taking place while we track our actors and build our case evidence and indeed try to track them down. We'll also have to crack into the blockchain, which is apparently being used to finance some of the legal transactions being used by our various actors to pay and get paid for their services. We will be using the analytics and intelligence bubble timeline to see how the different dates of the activities and the events take place over time. Of course, we will also use analytics and intelligence and its canvas to help us visualize the different connections that we're making between the people, the objects, the locations, and the events in our case. Finally, our evidence trail is going to lead us to a rural location where it appears our various actors are working on creating their explosives and making their plans. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lee Merrick and Manny Nirwan to take us through the demonstration of the Nuix technology.
So our story begins at a fertilizer factory. During a routine stock audit, we discover that the stock of some ammonium nitrate-based fertilizer has gone missing. Not a huge quantity, but enough that the stock no longer matches up, and that becomes a notifiable incident. So law enforcement have been notified, and we're going to go and do a routine investigation on this. As we arrive, we're going to get the information from the access logs, from the door entry systems, and we're going to get the employee records. And I've loaded that into analytics and intelligence. And as I open up the project, we see that the solution pack has automatically brought in for me some timeline information. So on our timeline, we can see various pieces of information that are available to us. So door access events, employee records, and an interesting one at the bottom here, which is around the employees with multiple cards. What this will do is it will allow the searching of all the relationships between the data to go and meet some criteria. So whereas if I look at the door events, I just get a whole load of piece of information about the events. And at the employee records, I just get information about the employee records. What this allows me to do is look for the relationships between them. So here I'm going to look for employees that have more than one card, because nobody should have more than one card. I'm going to send that to my canvas so I can investigate this further. And here we see now that through the relationships that have been brought out, we have Charlie Soda identified here as employee 121, who has more than one card. We have card number 1 and card number 101. 1 is issued by security guard number 2, and 101 is issued by the other guard, security guard number 1. And we can actually go and explore this further and see what happened with these. So again, I can bring out the relationship to the doors that have been accessed. Here we see I've actually got more than my preview, so I'm actually going to send that to a search. And we can see here we have a whole lot of door access events from that card. And I can also go and do the same on this other one. And here we see much smaller number of doors, all accessed on the 13th of December. And these doors show us that both of these cards are being used. So at this point now, we want to go and find out where Charlie Soda was on the 13th of December, try and work out what's going on here. And also I want to go and speak with the security guards and find out why this person was issued with more than one card. Now that we've interviewed Charlie Soda, we also find out that he was actually not even present on the 13th of December because he was on a family holiday and was overseas. So now we need to identify who was the true owner of this card. So now we'll go and speak with the security guards. And now I'm going to present that information in Nuix Web Review and Analytics, which is a web-based platform that allows access to the case data. So I see here I have my employee records case. I'm going to open that so we can see what's in here. So here we get to see the contents of the case in a dashboard form. I can see the raw contents of my case here. And if I want to, I can go and look at the extracted content of a document. I can look at it in its native form as well. And we can see we have the employee headshots as part of the forms. And what I can also do is go and take all of that extracted data in the gallery view, look for just the headshots, and we can review those. So now I can show this information to our security guards, who can see whether there's anyone here that they recognize in having issued the card to. When we do that, however, then we find that the security guard is unable to identify any person here related to the card that they issued. It was just unfortunately too long ago. At this point, having identified the leads in the case, we have the card which has been used, but we're not able to identify who it is. The person that it is issued to was unfortunately on leave at the time it was being used, so has a cast iron alibi. We also identify that whilst the ammonium nitrate has been removed from the warehouse, it's not a very large quantity, and there's no undue concern there. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to close the case down at this point and leave it just in a state so that if we have any further leads, that it means that we can get that information available to us. So at this point, the case will go cold.
Our second investigation takes place in London and is a result of a community outreach program. It has identified Mohammed Kang as being at risk of radicalization. As a registered moneylender, he is required to and has done so to declare any large overseas transactions. The first thing we are going to do is review some of the other information we have on Mohammed around his travel data. This allows us to investigate when and where he's been travelling via the international airport systems. When I open up my case, we can see a different set of solution packs. These highlight a different set of information to the previous project. We have one for travel to known countries. We also have information around the destinations and around travelling using multiple passports. One of the first things I'm going to do is map this data to help us visualize what destinations he has been to. As this opens up, we can see travel history across various countries in the world. We can even shrink this down and put this onto a form of playback. So if I press play here, you'll see dots throughout the world showing Mohammed and his family's travel. Skipping through for a moment, you'll see holiday destinations such as Australia, Greece and Canada. These are not of particular interest to us. But more recently, there's travel around the Middle East and the Asia subcontinent. We're now going to send this to our canvas so we can look at it in a little more detail. The information, as we said, has come from various airlines and has been parsed using our solution pack. This has helped us identify various passports, their issuers, flight details, and where they have passed through. So for this journey, we can see Mohammed has been travelling on a Pakistani passport via Benazir Bhutto International in Pakistan. We can also see some onward travel through Kabul and Kandahar. Exploring this further, we can also see he has a second passport. This has been issued by the United Kingdom. So travel through Afghanistan and Pakistan has been done on his Pakistani passport. We can also see here that there is travel through Cairo, which takes us to Iraq and through Baghdad International Airport. All of these can be explored using a right-click context. So let's see if we can bring in any additional references. So this is the source file where the information has come from. We can also see the flight information, where the flight originated from, and where it was going to. And in this case, this one has gone through Cairo. You can already see the power of this, allowing the data to come to life, rather than the alternative, which would be to review this data as rows in a database table or in a spreadsheet. Surveillance and intelligence indicates that our subject frequents an internet cafe. Having grounds to justify there is likely to be further evidence on these computers that will assist the investigation, a warrant is sought for the internet cafe and granted. What we do from this point is deploy Nuix adaptive security endpoint agents to the internet cafe computers. This will allow us to monitor what occurs on those systems in real time. Having deployed the Nuix adaptive security agents, we are now getting information feeding through to us on our Nuix adaptive security console. An asset on the ground has verified that Mohammed Kang is sitting in front of Internet Cafe PC number 4. We can go straight to that computer now and see information streaming straight to us, and we can see the session information as he uses the computer. Interestingly, we can see processes being run off a piece of removable media. In particular, we notice Firefox.exe. This is running as a portable executable. It's actually running from the USB itself, and not a program that's installed on the computer. This is a useful way for someone to obfuscate and leave no trace of their internet activity behind once they remove the device. We also see a program called Electrum. In a similar way, this is also coming from the removable media, and another program called CC Cleaner. Electrum turns out to be a Bitcoin wallet system. If we filter down to just that process name, we can see the files it is accessing when the wallet is in use. We can also see where the DNS queries are going from that process. For example, we can look at Firefox and see the queries it is making. We can filter down to our second level. Here we see DigiCerts, Microsoft. We can see where Electrum is going. We can see lots of different connections from Electrum, Firefox, going to Mozilla, going to Microsoft, and to Yahoo. One of the other pieces we have enabled in this scenario is we have turned on keystroke logging, so we can actually see what is being typed on the keyboard. If I actually switch to the keystroke logging, we can now see we have a Yahoo Messenger window, and we'll see some other connections as well. Within the Messenger, we can see a series of messages as communication occurs with an account named Mati Al-Reman. We are only getting one side of the communication, however, as we are only seeing the keystrokes being typed on the Internet Cafe machine. It also appears here that the text Shilpa 2005 may be a password for the Electrum system. So we can see here chat about the transfer of money, wallet, and what looks like a Bitcoin address. So we definitely want to go and find out more about this. So with the information we have found out so far, we are able to go and arrest Mohammed Kang. Now we will go and see what further information we get as a result of that. So when Mohammed Kang was arrested, he was in possession of a mobile phone and a USB storage device. These were forensically imaged, and as we can see them here loaded into a case in our Nuix workbench tool, using our filters we can see some of the apps that were present on the mobile phone. But I'm actually very interested to find out more about this Bitcoin wallet that we saw earlier. If I expand out the filter for other documents, we can see here that we have a Bitcoin wallet file on this machine and a whole load of encrypted data. This is our Bitcoin wallet, and as you can see, it is located within the Electrum data folder. What I've also noticed is quite a lot of Google placemarks or KML data that's on the USB storage device. When I double click on this, we can see it's all coming out of bookmarks called McDonald's and kebab shops. The McDonald's bookmarks look like fire stations more than McDonald's, so I'm quite interested to see what we have here. Looking at the kebab shop artifacts, I'm actually going to go and map this information, and as we do, we can see national grid substation, water pumping stations, gas treatment facilities, and other critical national infrastructure. Certainly nothing to do with kebab shops. This information certainly indicates some sort of preparatory activity, which is very concerning. We also have some flight information from Sydney and some boarding passes. While I could continue my forensic examination here, instead I'm going to put this information into my existing case within Nuix Analytics and Intelligence to analyze it there in further detail. So opening up this project, I have the same information I had previously, but it's displayed in many more ways to help me analyze it. In particular, we see there's hits against the OFAC sanctions list. I can bring the Bitcoin data in as well. So let's take the Bitcoin wallet that I've identified in the case and display it on the canvas. So this is identified as a default wallet. I can see I have a Bitcoin address, and from this I can explore some of the other transactions that it has been involved in. Expanding this out, you will see transactions that have been coming through as well. So going back, I'm also interested in the sanctions list, the links between it and the artifact it links to, and where it will lead me. So sending my sanction list to my search, I can see there's a hit in particular to the name Mati Al-Rahman. Next to the hit, you will see an icon that looks like a small green brain. This icon indicates that the artifact is a match against a known piece of intelligence that exists within our global IDB intelligence database. This resource is something that is populated by investigators with key intelligence of interest, so this is something I definitely want to put on my canvas and see where it takes us. So now you'll see I have a link for my Bitcoin address to an item. If I look at the properties of that, we will see a Yahoo chat messenger window, and we have our Bitcoin address being typed into Firefox on Cafe PC number 4. That's quite interesting, that this content has now been tied to the wallet file and now to the communication. So the person communicating has been identified as Mati Al-Rahman. Identifying all the possible connections that exist between people, object and places is great intelligence. So using the Bitcoin address artifact, I'm going to explore the relationships between it and Mati Al-Rahman. Using the find path functionality, I select a starting point and a subject, and I click search. This will go through my entire case and identifies any other links. So it has brought up some other available routes. So let me go and put these on the canvas as well. So this has brought up a different Bitcoin address associated with Mati Al-Rahman. And we can see the transaction information that's coming through to the wallet that's on the USB storage device from Mohammed. And you can see the Bitcoin transfer occurring through the network. We can also see a variety of other transactions all coming out of the same wallet, but more importantly, say that Mohammed was receiving funds from Mati Al-Rahman via Bitcoin. At this point, we have enough evidence to seek charging advice against Mohammed Kang for offences under the OFAC money laundering and terrorist funding legislation. So it appears our investigation is starting to draw to an end. But before I move on, I'm going to revisit our intelligence database and send our IDB-related items to a search. From here I can see a company name, AgriFarm. So at this point, our silo investigation seems to have a link to the agricultural fertilizer manufacturer that had a theft in relation to precursor chemicals. Looking into this AgriFarm IDB here, we can see there is a Wikipedia page being saved onto a USB storage device. If you recall around the sanction lists, there was communication in the Yahoo chat messenger window. If we revisit this and we look at some of the conversations, they now make a bit more sense given the context. So we have someone here saying, I think $20,000 would do it, and a kafar at a plan, he'll do it for money. This is great intel to pass over to our other investigation for them to follow up on.
So now we're going to come back to AgriFarm, and I'm going to reopen this project. And further, I'm going to load in the data relating to the investigation of Mohammed Kang into this case. So now what I'm going to do is, we now have all the original evidence related to AgriFarm, and now we also have further information coming from the phone, the USB stick, and we've also requested from the provider the cell tower data relating to Mohammed Kang, so we can see his whereabouts and movements on the previous days. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to map that information. So I'm going to take the cell tower data and map that, and then also the employee data and map that. So we see where we can they come into being. See if we can identify this person on the inside. So we can see these green markings are on the employee locations, and that's information which has been pulled out automatically during processing, having identified the address fields in the employee text to bring out the geolocation information. And the cell tower data is using the geolocation as provided by the network provider using their cell tower details. So if we go and have a look, we have a few entries here which are marked in red, which indicate a long period of pause. And we can also identify that we have the various employee locations dotted around. And we see here we have one in close contact. So actually we see here Mohammed spent a lot of time just around the corner from this person here. And we can go and explore who that is by having a look, and we actually start to see from the text, we can identify that we have Freddie Maddox is based at this location. I'm actually going to draw a link here to make sure that we capture that. So draw a link between the two, and I'm also further going to bookmark both of these. So I'm going to select those, and I'm going to add a bookmark to both of these. There we go. So that's now stored that information with a bookmark. And I can also see there's another location not all that far away. At Braywood Farm. Now, quite why Mohammed Kang has found himself at Braywood Farm, I'm not entirely sure. But we have identified him sort of closely related to Freddie Maddox. A further step that we will take is that we will get a production order on Freddie Maddox banking details, so as to identify sources of income. And we identify that it's approximately $20,000 arrived in his account only a few days ago. So money which he does not seem to have a source for. Our final step from the information that we've been able to extract from the solution here is that there is something clearly not right about Braywood Farm. And we're going to send somebody over there to go and investigate what's going on. And what we find when we do so is a quantity of ammonium nitrate fertilizer and information regarding preparation for bomb-making equipment. At this point, our intelligence-led operation has given us a tangible connection to the real world in avoiding what could have been a very devastating incident.
Thank you guys, that was a spectacular demonstration of the power of Nuix. As you can see, the journalists at the Nuix Insider have gotten a hold of this very valuable news story and have now relayed it to the public. You can see that the Spectre team has foiled the terror plot at hand, and the local police and federal investigators have been able to stop the terrorists and arrest them and bring them into custody. I'd briefly like to take you through some of the behind-the-scenes activity that made this whole demonstration possible. We use a variety of something called population scripts, which customize the experience for our investigators that make it easier and faster for them to do their work. This actually points to the dramatic extensibility of these platforms. They can be customized to the various use cases at hand. We have something called a population script that was used here 3 times. One to join keycard access at AgriFarm and the assignment of the different people who had those keycards. Also to mine transactions within the blockchain. And finally to look at joining interesting information around passenger flight manifests. We also used analysis scripts to help us query things that we knew were going to be important and interesting throughout the investigation, such as visits to embargoed countries, communicating with known terrorists, and keycard access. And also we used a worker-side script that allows us to take address strings and convert simple longitude and latitude into a geocoded and geopositioned event on our map. With that, Team Spectre would like to thank you for your attendance and attention. And remember, we're always watching.